and welcome to JRock'S Babylon. I'm your host, Jason JRock Houston, and we have two of the members of the band Cranberry Suit. We got lead singer Brad Thomas, and we got the guitar player Raven. How you doing tonight, guys?
Good.
Good. How's it going?
It's great. Now, where's home base for you guys?
Tucson, I guess you could kind of say roughly. Arizona, I guess, would be home base. I guess we're kind of spread out.
Yeah, and Brad, you were sharing with me that you guys have a show tonight, and the interview will be going up, I know, after the show. But what can people look forward to tonight?
It's our first show since even most of the songs on the record we haven't even played live yet. So this is the first show before we start working toward going on tour. So this is kind of like the icebreaker with our new bass player. And it's a band called The Jack. They're an AC/DC tribute, and they've asked us to play several times, and we've always wanted to, and everything kind of aligned. And this is like our send-off show before we kind of really start rolling with what's coming next. So,
and as far as AC/DC tribute, I got to ask, have you ever seen them live? And the reason I ask is typically when you go see an AC/DC tribute, it's one of two things. Because the singers AC/DC have it so different. Like either you'll get a band that does like just the Bon Scott era, or in some cases somebody that just does the Brian Johnson. Then I've seen a few that actually, this one actually had two different singers. One would come out and do the Bond stuff, another.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Have you ever seen them live?
Mike has. Okay. Raven has for sure. Yeah, and I think they more lean toward the Brian Johnson, but they do both.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
They do both eras for sure.
And so, Raven, I got to ask, being the guitar player, were you at all influenced by Ace Frehley from the original Kiss guitarist that recently passed?
Oh man, yes, like hands down. It was Kiss overall that motivated me to want to be in a band, but it was Ace Frehley that solidified the whole guitar thing for me.
Oh, wow. And let me ask you, I always loved, because I'm a diehard Kiss fan myself. I just got the new box set for Dress to Kill, and I also just ordered the one for Alive that should be coming in a few days. But let me ask you this. When you first became a Kiss fan, were you equally into Kiss because of the look and the music, or were you more into the look, or what was your experience with that?
Because I was so young, it was the look that started it, and it was the cover of Kiss Alive 2, man, with Gene Simmons all sweaty and the blood dripping from his chin and just looking badass. But I as I got familiar with the music, I think those guys. I tell Brad this all the time, and I think that Kiss is one of the most underrated band of songwriters that rock and roll has ever seen, man. They're especially the first three records. Dress to Kill is probably my favorite. Yeah. But yeah, within the first three records, there's huge songs that those guys did. Huge, just great rock and roll songs.
And in reference to like Dress to Kill, I gotta say that one of my favorite songs off there is Rock Bottom, for a simple fact, even just guitar wise, what Paul and Ace were doing on that track together, the way it kind of starts off and they trade off the guitar parts and then it just kicks in,
Yeah, man. Yeah. That whole album is great. Lover All I Can, I think is my favorite track off that record.
Yeah, that's when Kiss was really at its kind of rawest, and also, that was time in the band's history when talking about Ace Frehley for a minute, where he wasn't comfortable in his ability as a lead singer at that point. But yet he wrote some of the early stuff like Strange Ways, Parasite, which he used to typically give his songs to Peter or Gene to sing because he wasn't comfortable, like I said. But yet those are some pretty raw tracks,
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was good stuff.
Yeah. And how about you, Brad? As far as your influences, who are the singers that did it for you growing up?
I always liked music. My family always listened to music. I didn't really have any musicians in my family, but definitely my mom was a hippie, so I was raised in the 70s when I was a kid. But the one who really did it for me and made me have the aha moment that that's what I want to do was Rob Halford. When
Oh,
I heard Rob Halford, and it was off Killing Machine, that record. So my cousin was driving me to my brother's graduation in Washington, and so they had a camper, and her boyfriend was a rocker dude, and so I was probably, I don't know, I was young, man, like 13 or 12, and they put me in the camper, and they were in the cab, and so I was laying on the bed, and he had his tape collection, and I had my Walkman, and I put on Killing Machine from Judas Priest, you know, the one with the sunglasses on the cover,
that Killing
and
Machine. Just to get put a little confusion out there, that's the one that they changed the name from Killing Machine to Hell Bent
yes,
Leather. Yeah,
that's
yeah,
correct.
yeah, yeah.
And so when I heard Rob, and I had heard a lot of good stuff. I had my brother was playing Ozzy, all that stuff. But when I heard Rob, I was like, he made himself absolutely unignorable. And I was like, I want to do that right there.
Yeah,
Not mimic him, but be like
yeah,
that
yeah.
powerful. You know what I mean?
Wow,
And
wow.
that's what really did it. And then it's from then on, it was just that was it. I wanted to do
And let
that.
me ask you, Brad, because while we're on the subject of Judas Priest, I always love to ask people this because I was just curious if you'd ever heard the very first Priest album, Rockarola. The reason being,
It's one of my favorites.
yeah,
That
yeah,
song Winter, there's a song called Winter on there
yeah.
that we need to cover, that I want to cover. And I've told Raven like 5 times. If you haven't heard that song Winter, you need to put it on right after this interview.
I definitely think that's for your next release, maybe a possibility, guys, because the reason I bring up Rockarola is I don't know if you're aware of the history behind that album, but at the time, Rob Halford had just joined Priest. They had another
Right.
singer before him. So the songs on that album were actually written with another singer in mind.
Correct.
Rob comes in, and I really would love people to go on YouTube and give Rockarola a listen, only because it sounds nothing like the Mighty Priest we know today. In fact,
No.
it sounded a lot more like a progressive rock album.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Yeah,
my goodness, man, that's a great album, though.
yeah, and
You know,
that's why if you were to do that cover, Brad, it would be really cool. Not just because you're a Priest fan, but people would listen to that and be surprised. That's not a Priest song, you know?
yeah. Right. Well,
Yeah,
you don't know it's Rob until he kicks in. And
yeah,
I
yeah,
always Rob's voice, but yes. Yeah, Halford is definitely he's a one of a kind, man. You might
yeah,
not like you love him or hate him, but it doesn't matter. He's so confident, and especially back like if I saw Priest once, and I saw him in like '84, I think, and my goodness, man, he was nuts. I mean, just the whole thing, right? It's just,
yeah. I
and
mean,
that's the whole thing. I think it's time for that whole. I think it's time again for that Dio, that manly, that awesome, soulful, hard rock band with that manly, soulful singer again, like Dio and Halford. And I mean, Dickinson, even Diano. I love Diano. The first
yeah.
singer I think was great. So I think we're moving into that era again. It's time. People are ready for that stuff. Not a carbon copy of that stuff, but reminding you of that and that same vibe and persona that those bands projected, the power, and just it's time for that. Everything's starting to sound the same again, if you notice.
Oh, yeah.
And it's time for that stuff. And we just happen to sound like that.
And,
So
and,
kind of perfect.
and let me ask you, Brad, once you decided you wanted to become a singer, did that a lot of that have to do with the fact that you probably were already at that point writing your own original tunes? And it's like, well, these are my songs and I'd rather sing them than have somebody else sing them.
Well, actually, when I decided to be a singer, I was probably my first band. I think I was 17.
Uh,
So by that, it was 1986 or something like
okay.
that.
Okay.
So everybody was in a rock band.
Yeah.
And so I just got together with my friends at high school and they were great and we formed a band. But that's just, there wasn't really cover bands and stuff, just at bars, I guess, but everybody was just writing their own stuff. And that's the thing with when you're writing your own stuff. If you're not good, you're not going to get a following. And we would pack, man, by my fourth band, I think by that time I was 19, we were packing 200 people into a living room and they were singing the lyrics back to us of whatever band I was in at that time. I mean, we were,
Okay.
it was a whole different time, and I wish we could get back to some of that at least, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no, that's just what everybody was doing, and I
Okay.
just happened to be with
Yeah.
really good musicians. So
And now let me ask you, Raven. I mean, you and Brad here are the kind of a two core founding members of the band, from what I understand. How long has Cranberry Suit been together? And was this chemistry you guys had, was it immediate?
Yeah, we probably, I think we've been doing this for about 4.5 years, almost 5 years now. But yeah, Brad was the singer that I was looking for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was exactly who and what I was hoping to find. Both on a like an intellectual level, so that we could, become friends, you know what I mean, and not just bandmates. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
on on the cultural level,
Yeah.
coming from the same era of rock and roll as kids, a lot. We have a lot of the same influences, like our circles overlap
Sure.
vastly in the musical interest that we have. So it's not a whole lot really needs to be said between us.
Yeah.
I come up with a riff that I like, I send it to him, and he does his magic, and that's what we've been doing since literally, the day we met.
Wow,
yeah,
wow. Before we went on the air here, Brad and I were talking offline, and he was sharing with me that, as we sit here in 2025, the music industry being what it is, we're kind of at a point where a lot of the old guard, the heroes we grew up on that we've been talking about, a lot of them are passing on or retiring. And Cranberry Suit is one of those bands that I think is kind of, coming up the pipeline and, to pick up the torch, so to speak. And you guys are going to be maybe in the next breed of great bands.
appreciate
Yeah,
that. We hope
Yeah,
so.
yeah, thank you.
yeah,
That's that would be awesome. It's the goal. It's not like it's not like when we were kids. It's not that hedonistic goal of money, mansions,
Wow.
cars,
sure, sure, yeah,
hookers, all
yeah.
that stuff.
That would be nice, but
Um,
yeah,
yeah, I don't know that I'd necessarily say no to
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 that,
two out
yeah,
of
yeah,
three of those things.
yeah. Uh,
But it's we really enjoy what we're doing. I'm certainly proud of all the productions that we've gotten done so far, and want so badly to just be able to share it. You know what I mean, and like
sure.
catch that vibe with our audience, and really see what our full potential audience can grow into and looks like. That's we'd love the opportunity to do that. That's why the touring, we're really focused
Yeah,
on
yeah.
getting out and getting on tour.
And you guys enjoy getting that kind of immediate response, like making a music video, post up on your YouTube channel, kind of seeing the immediate response the fans give it.
I,
Yes, I think the connection live though is the thing that really does it, because when you play live, and it doesn't matter how big the crowd is, if it's a rock and roll crowd, they like us. But when it is a big crowd, the response is so cool because it's like-minded people, because we love music first. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And
sure.
so when they're telling you, like, just giving you all these compliments, and I understand what they're saying. Like, they're saying, you remind me of, and I know exactly what we've heard everything, right? We've heard every band. So I understand what they're saying, but the live aspect is what the connection, and that's what the recording and putting music out there, and the live performance of that music, the old fashioned way that you can't ever get away from.
Yeah, yeah,
That's still the way, and there's nothing like it, having that like circular thing going on between you and a crowd, right? they're
yeah, yeah.
just they're just important, if not more important than you.
I mean, talk about the
And
roar of the crowd, Brad. I mean, you guys must feed off of that when you're up there on stage.
no,
that's
there's
what it
nothing like
is,
it.
man.
And
When you
yeah,
feel the room shake
Yeah,
from the approval of the audience, there's nothing like that. That's totally what hooked me in. From the very first show I ever played with a band.
Yeah.
The first time we got a positive response like that, I was just done for.
And the great thing about it, Raven, is that you guys are up on stage and the crowd has that kind of reaction. It's like, they're grooving on our music, they're getting on what we created.
Yeah, we're not playing other people's, like, tribute bands are cool. I dig them. I love them, right? I played in a Black Crowes one, a Bad Company one. They're cool. But you are playing someone else's music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where when it is, that's correct. And especially when you see them singing lyrics back, what a humbling experience, right? That these people took time to drive over here and they know your songs. And it's crazy. I remember the first time that happened with Cranberry Suit, the first big crowd we got in front of, no one knew who we were at all. And it was opening for Last in Line. If you remember those guys, they were Dio's band.
Yeah.
And then this other singer. So everyone was sitting down. There's probably, I don't know, 800, 900 people there. Everyone was sitting down. Halfway through the first song, everyone was up at the front because they were like, oh, this is, like, you could see their faces like, oh, this is not just some opener. This is a good band.
I can imagine, Brad, because, that's what I was getting ready to say, that, how many times must you have opened for a great national act and then people coming out there, they're seeing Cranberry Suit for the very first time. And they've never even heard the record or know any of the lyrics, but they're just rocking out with the guys on stage. And I'm going to go get the new Cranberry Suit CD before I leave the show tonight.
Yeah. It's nothing like it. It's the best. And people that don't know, they just don't know. They don't understand what it is. But, you can't fault them.
And so Brad was showing me, one of the bands you guys have opened for a few times, I think, is Doc, and what was that like? And when you guys come off the stage, do you watch the headliner or do you go and just kind of cool off backstage?
A little bit of both, obviously, when you're in front of a national act like that, stage management is rushing you off stage. So we're trying to get packed up as quick as possible. But I watch everybody, man. I like to check out the bands that are, playing in the time slots before us. Sure. I like to stick around and see who the feature is, whether they're a big national hit or not. I'm always hungry for new music.
So before we wrap it up, because I can't believe we have about 5 minutes left, guys. Let me ask you about one of the songs that really impressed me, that I really got off on. Game of Illusion. There's a groove that runs through that song, through the entire song. Yeah.
Thank you. I love that song.
Yeah. You want to tell us what it's about or anything?
I can tell you lyrically, and then Mike can tell you the other way. Lyrically, it is about we the people, man. And I'm not talking politics, because politics is division. I'm talking about freedom. I'm from a generation that freedom is absolutely essential to living. And it's the us and them thing. And they have us so torn up inside, thinking it's us against each other, when it's really us against them. And that song is just, if you want to know where I stand and where Cranberry Suit stands on the way they think, and you can look at it not from a Trump perspective and not from an Obama perspective or anything like that. You can, and it's a lyric video, so you can read the lyrics. Okay, you can understand what I'm saying, in my opinion, is absolutely true. And that song is unabashedly how I think and how Mike thinks and how the rest of the guys. Musically, Raven can tell you. What a great riff. Right.
Well, we'll take it there, Raven. So tell us about that riff you came up with.
It was one of the last songs to get added to the list to make the record. I came up with that last minute. We had 4 other songs that we were planning on doing, and Game of Illusions just kind of popped out by accident in a writing spurt that I was on. But it was because I felt like Nomad needed something that had a sense of urgency to it. It needed a riff that had that that kind of like foreboding, you know,
Yeah.
this really heavy time, this deep time is upon us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was just kind of the goal as I was noodling around, and that's what I came up with.
A
And
beautiful
Brad,
noodle there, my friend. I'd like to, thank you guys for coming on today. Before we go, can fans expect like a new record or something maybe in 2026?
yeah, probably at least an EP.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we will definitely have you guys back. It's great talking to you. This interview be going up tomorrow, like I said. I just want to wish you guys happy holidays and have a great show tonight. Okay.
Thanks, man.
Thanks. Happy holidays to you as well.
Okay. Take care, my friends. Bye bye.
All right,
Peace.
brother.